It's been a while since my last session here on personal financial planning. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do a slightly detailed review of the ground we have already covered, and then I will resume from where we last left. What we are dealing with is something called personal financial planning, and somebody who attempts personal financial planning does so out of a concept of financial responsibility. And the best ever saying that I have come across to describe the concept of financial responsibility comes from a gentleman called Frank L. Nettie, who has written a good book on retirement planning. He says, by law you have the right, by nature you have a duty, and to your family you have an obligation to be a good steward of all your assets. So I will not explain this, we already dealt with it, I'm just helping you to recall this. And then when we went into personal financial planning, I told you that personal financial planning is something like preventive medicine. A financial planner, especially a good financial planner, will try to put you in control of your financial life. This financial planner will seek to address a few critical areas of your financial life where you have to take certain important decisions. So when we have this concept of preventive medicine in mind, we will understand financial planning much better. And the ultimate goal of financial planning is a concept called financial freedom. Financial freedom is, if at all you work because you want to, not because you have to. You have reached a stage where you don't really need to work for money. You can embark upon some of your pet projects. I know several people, they are also clients of our office. Some really bright people who are now in their late 30s, maybe mid 40s. All of them have put in place financial plans that will possibly enable them to achieve total financial freedom by the age of 50, as opposed to our normal retirement age of about 60. After this, they are not going to sit quiet. Some of them want to educate poor children. What these people have done is, not only have they put in place a plan to reach financial freedom for themselves, they have also built a separate corpus or a separate sum of money which they are intending to spend virtually on charity, but not by making donations to various institutions and organizations, but by using their talent and this special sum of money to pursue things like educating, training children, helping the underprivileged, in some cases medical attention. I know a couple of doctors from the US who are now in almost the retirement phase of their life. They come, they want to adopt a village in their native place. They have all achieved financial freedom, and that's why they can do this. Coming back to personal financial planning, if at all you want a definition, it's the conceptualization. It's a big word, it's only drawing up. The drawing up and implementation of a comprehensive plan for the achievement of a person's total financial objectives. The important words here are comprehensive plan and total financial objectives. You draw up a plan, you implement a plan. Drawing up without implementation is of no use. Implementation without planning will be a haphazard wastage. The important thing is, we try to be as broad-based as possible, try to cover all normal aspects of a person, because many times an individual does not know what she or he really requires in life. I've had a lot of youngsters earning well. When you ask them what are your financial needs, they talk about a fancy car and a foreign holiday, but they do not even have an emergency fund. If an emergency strikes tomorrow, there's no money to meet it. So the drawing up and implementation of a comprehensive plan, we try to include everybody's total financial objectives. Planning is extremely important. As Alan Lakin said, we cannot go back into the past and alter it, but we can do something to make our future better. So planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. Of these three time dimensions, the past, the present and the future, we have some control over the future by doing something about it in the present. And this thing also I presented. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This has been on my slides or in my talks for decades. It's a very old saying. Sounds very good, but the point I want to make is, this is getting increasingly more important today. The modern era, thanks to technology and communications, life is speeding up. When we grew up, maybe 40, 45 years back, we know for a fact what a sleepy little town Mangalore was. Today, the rat race has caught up even in this kind of a city. So you can imagine it's much more in the metros, where people may spend 3 to 4 hours a day just traveling to and fro work, 1/6 of the day. So in such a case, everything has to be planned. Now, when we look at personal financial planning, essentially it is addressing certain important areas. What are these areas? This is what I presented before you. Insurance, which is something called institutionalized protection, emergency funding, retirement planning, housing, getting rid of debt, investment, and a few other objectives. Actually, we have covered right down till investment. But we'll very, very quickly, like I said, recap. When we talk about insurance, these are the 3 points that we have to address. Health insurance, if you have the slightest doubt whether you need it or not, you need it. So take it. Life insurance and property insurance should be taken only if you need it. And since I explained these concepts to you in detail, I'm just calling them to mind. The second important area of personal financial planning, emergency funding, your own private insurance policy. Creating a fund for emergencies. When in doubt, go for 1 year's normal living expenses, rounded off to the next higher, rupees 1 lakh. Retirement planning, one of the most important areas. Increasingly, in my practice, I've been now 31 years into practice, I'm finding this whole concept of retirement planning becoming more and more important. That's why my review here also will be slightly longer than the other points where I hardly spent half a minute. Let us quickly look at it. We started with this beautiful Chinese proverb, do not wait until you are thirsty to dig a well. A retirement fund must be started the moment a person starts work. Do not confuse retirement funding or retirement planning with retirement. The two are totally different. If you are 30 and you are going to work till 65, retirement will be 35 years away. Retirement planning, if you have not done it, you are probably already too late. So this should start the moment a person starts work. Coming back to the whole concept of financial responsibility, you are responsible for your comfortable retirement. If you have this idea, this attitude, I am responsible, my employer is not responsible, the government is not responsible, I am responsible for my comfortable retirement and the comfortable retirement of my spouse. This is very important. Lifespans are increasing thanks to medical advancements. So the moment your lifespan increases, you are going to have a longer retired life. In the old days, somebody would quit working at 58 and the average lifespan might have been 65 or 70. Today, nobody bats an eyelid when we say somebody is 80, 85. You look at the obituary pages, several people are living into their 90s. As somebody said, 80 has become the new 60. So we are possibly providing for 2 or 3 decades after retirement. And this would require enormous resources. As this beautiful slide says, future financial needs. When you talk about future financial needs, right there on top of the list of future financial needs will be my needs in retirement. This is what we think we need, that will be what we actually need. That's the kind of difference. No matter how much you plan, no matter how much you inflate what you think you need, you will need more than that. Coming back to the concept of financial responsibility, you have a responsibility to accumulate enough to take care of yourself and your spouse for the remainder of your days. There are two great gifts we can give children. The first gift is, in your old age, not to be a burden to them financially. You have enough resources. If possible, if one or two of them need some money, you should be able to provide. So one of the greatest gifts you can give your children is to be financially independent in your old age, thus ensuring that you don't become a financial burden to them. For successful, I was talking about two gifts you can give your children. One is not to be a financial burden. Second thing is, on whatever matters you have in life, try to solve your problems at your level. Do not pass on things like litigation, other unfinished business to the next generation. Okay, we are seeing a few cases in that which is a little worrying. And to the extent possible, I tell people, don't be a financial burden and don't pass on any other burden. Let them start with a clean slate. In fact, convey to them this very message so that they in turn have the same attitude. Let me solve my problems in my lifetime. And let me also not be a financial burden to the next generation. These are all concepts of financial responsibility. Moving ahead, for successful retirement planning, it is not necessary that large amounts be invested. Small amounts are fine, provided that they are invested at regular intervals for a long time. This is the example I give you, so I'll quickly repeat it. A simple monthly unchanging investment of 1,000 rupees per month, but continued for 40 years, 480 months, so 4,80,000 is invested. We are taking a return of 12% compounded annualized. You get 118 lakhs, 1.18 crores at the end of 40 years. If this looks impressive, it definitely does not impress me, because this is no way to invest. You start at 1,000, 40 years or later also you are investing 1,000. Our salaries, our earnings tend to increase as we progress through life. Periodically, every 2 years, 3 years, 1,000 should become a little more, 1.5, 2. It need not be 1,000 going to 10,000. If that kind of thing is done, when an unchanging 1,000 per month, uninterrupted for 40 years can result in that kind of a corpus. What may happen if even every 3 years you slightly increase it? Then you know you will reach financial freedom pretty fast. Warren Buffett said, it is not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. Perseverance is the most important factor, a little bit of self-discipline. William Bernstein looks at risk, and especially the risk in retirement. Probably the most relevant definition of risk is the likelihood of running out of money. Charles Ellis, same thing in different language. Risk is not having the money you need when you need it. Burton Malkiel, the risk in old age is not of premature death. Death is a solution, not a problem. The risk is that you will live too long and outlive your assets. So this is the problem, and this saying by Burton Malkiel brings us back to one very important concept that I have spoken to you earlier. If you remember, something called the retirement trap. What is the retirement trap? I am 60, I retire. I have worked for decades. I have got a certain expertise in something. So I may continue to work for another 5 or 6 years. I may work till 65, 66. Somebody may need my services, part-time, full-time. Not only that, when I retired at the age of 60, I have a good retirement corpus. For the first 5, 6, 7 years, although there is inflation, although my expenses slowly go up, I do not feel any problem at all. Then at 65 or 66, I finally stop working. once again, no problem. I've got the money. I continue living. We are seeing cases where people are running out of money in the mid-70s, at 75. Now, supposing somebody runs out of money at 75, but in the normal course, that person's lifespan is 87 years. What will happen to these last 12 years, 75 to 87? This is the question that should exercise us. And this is called the retirement trap. The retirement trap is you do not feel uncomfortable at 60. You feel uncomfortable much later, but with substantial time still left in your lifespan. So at that time when things should have been easy, when you should have been really enjoying the evening of your life, you are having problems because your money is slowly running out, inflation is going up, you have not made enough provision. So beware the retirement trap. This is very important. That's what he's saying here. The risk in old age is not of premature death. The risk is that you will live too long and outlive your assets. How do we provide for it? We provide for it by taking action immediately. You keep saying, I'll do this one of these days, shortly, nothing will be done. Burton Malkiel says, persistent saving in regular amounts, no matter how small, pays off. Persistent saving. Persistence is the key. And I give you this change of equation. All of us are used to this equation of income minus expenditure. I earn something, I spend something, whatever remains, if it remains, I save. Income minus expenditure is savings. But we have to change it to income minus savings is expenditure. So it's like tax deduction at source. Moment salary comes into my bank account, I have already planned how much I'm going to save. First, that gets saved. Rest of it is what I have to use for living for the month. How much should you save out of your monthly income? A good thumb rule is, especially if you have got 20, 25 or 30 years left for retirement, at least 10% of my net income. Net income means income after deductions and after taxation. Now, this has reference to today's talk. I have asked you as we went along this series of talks to try to place all your money and all your savings into three broad categories. The three broad categories are, first is an emergency fund, the second a retirement fund, the third a general investment fund. In my 31-year career, I have hardly come across need for any further categorization. Emergency, retirement, general investment. Emergency fund, a fund to meet emergencies. Very easy to understand. What's the significance of a retirement fund? A retirement fund is to take care of the financial needs of the individual and his or her spouse from the date of retirement till end of life of the survivor among them. This is important. I retire at 60. My lifespan is, let's say, 80. My wife's lifespan is 85. From 60 to 80, my retirement fund should take care of both of us. From 80 to 85, it should take care of her comfortably. This is the purpose of a retirement fund. So the retirement fund starts operating when I stop earning, not before that. So it's a very long-term thing. If somebody is 25 and retiring at 65, we are talking about retirement contributions taking place for 40 years, 4 decades. General investment fund. Apart from emergencies, apart from retirement requirements, as we progress through life, we will need periodically certain sums of money to meet what we call irregular lump sum investments. From children's education to a holiday to vehicle purchases, down payment on a house, all these things we will need. General investment fund I will be explaining in little more detail later on. Right now I just want to draw your attention to changing our thinking. When we think of our savings, deployment of our money, let us understand the categorization. Emergency, retirement, general investment. We do this, what will happen is we will be giving ourselves the ability to look at finance and investment from the point of view of serious objectives. So everything, where's my PPF account? It's not PPF. PPF is retirement. For me, PPF is retirement. For me, some investment in a short-term debt, that's my emergency fund. When we talk about retirement funding, these are the best avenues. Employees Provident Fund is absolutely the best avenue to the extent that there is a matching contribution by the employer. So it is buy one, get one free. Apart from that, the best, second best would probably be the ELSS, Equity Linked Savings Scheme, especially for anyone who has got 10 years or more. If you do a sustained systematic investment in an ELSS scheme for 10 years or more, it will probably give you higher returns than PPF and other things. PPF is also a very good investment. Then there are equity mutual funds. You can go directly into stocks. You can also go into yielding real estate that keeps yielding money. Of course, there are expenses in the management of real estate. It's not very cheap to maintain, unlike a demat account or others. But whatever it is, there are people who have created successful retirement income streams through rental income. There's no doubt about that. So these are from your employees' provident fund to the stock market, to public provident fund, to real estate. All good avenues depending on the kind of resources you have for retirement. Loans. One line advice about loans is, do not take them. But sometimes you need loans. For example, to buy a house, it's not a simple commitment. Important thing is, do not ever get into a debt trap where you cannot pay back. As Eric Tyson said, the financially healthy amount of bad debt is 0. Whole objective of personal financial planning is to put you in control of your financial life. When you take a loan, somebody else or some other institution also has a say in your financial life. I take a loan, I have to pay interest, I have to repay principal. Until I do both, the institution has a hold over me, has a hold over some property I own. So a simple thumb rule to remain safe in debt is, calculate your total EMIs, let it be vehicle loan or housing loan or whatever it is, total equated to how much am I repaying per month. That figure should be 25% or below total family net income. So if my total net income is 40,000 rupees, my EMI cannot exceed 10,000. If husband, wife are working, there is some other income already from rent or other thing, total is 1 lakh rupees, my EMI should be 25,000 a month. If I do this, I may not fall into a debt trap, or at least I reduce the probability of my falling into a debt trap. Housing is very important and very simple. Everybody must have one house or dwelling place that you call your own, an apartment, a house, whatever it is. And there are tax benefits attached to it. Some people are lucky enough to already inherit a house, or the parents or someone has made a provision for them. In such a case, housing may not be a priority. But otherwise, you have to buy a house or flat, and if you have to take a loan for it, well and good, you have to do it. Now, housing is a major commitment. As we all know, prices are high. However humble your property, you cannot buy it piecemeal, you have to buy it straight away. So if you want to buy it piecemeal, the indirect way is through a loan where you pay the installments piecemeal. Since it's a major commitment involving a lot of money, we always advise people, if you're thinking about a house, think of it about 5 years after you have started working. 5 years of uninterrupted work. Even if you lose your job, somebody with 5 years experience is likely to get a job quicker than someone with just 6 months or 3 months or 1 year's experience. Also, there's that maturity level. In 5 years, you might have changed a job or two. There might be a substantial difference between what you are earning on day 1 versus month number 60. So all these things have to be considered, and only after about 5 years you look at a house. We came to investment, and Frank Nettie again, sound investment will decrease the time during which you work for money and increase the time during which money will work for you. Beautiful saying once again. And I told you, think of investment as a tripod. Just we said the investment categories. Don't mistake the investment categories with the investment types of investment here. Categories were emergency fund, retirement fund, general investment fund. But why do I invest? I invest for three purposes. I may need to park some funds. I may need to earn regular returns. I may need to have my money or my wealth grow. So, parking, regular returns, growth are the three objectives. Parking and emergency funding avenues, any of these are fine. Liquidity and safety are important. In fact, there are four objectives of investment: the increase of wealth, the earning of tax efficient income, need not be tax free but tax efficient. Third, maintenance of very high liquidity in investments. And fourth, the maintenance of safety in investment. Increase of wealth, tax efficient income, liquidity, safety. Of these four objectives of investment, when you talk about parking or emergency, parking means any time I may require the money. Emergency funding, I do not know when an emergency will strike. So liquidity and safety, I should be quickly able to convert it to cash, and safety, I should not lose money there. These are the important things. So all these kind of investments help you with liquidity and safety. Investing for regular returns, once again, we are probably familiar with most of these, from things like your small savings, post office, monthly income scheme, etc., to bank fixed deposits, to certain government bonds, to for senior citizens, SCSS, Senior Citizen Savings Scheme, and so on and so forth. I will not go deep into it, but there are avenues for regular returns. And finally, the important thing about regular returns are advised only when you need regular returns. When we are in the productive phase of life, when we are working, earning salary, professional fees, or business income, such income is a regular return. So once again, it is very foolish to take our money and put our savings into this kind of thing. Most of these are taxed, and the rate of return is relatively lower than the long-term returns on, say, stocks or real estate. So we have to be a little careful about that. Regular returns are later on. When we go into the retirement phase, there is no other income. Therefore, I need some bank deposit interest to come so that I pay my bills on a monthly basis. When I don't require that, say between the ages of about mid-20s and say mid-60s, when I'm still productive economically, my savings must go into growth avenues of investment. That's the third leg of the tripod. And when we talk about investing for growth, almost there is no disagreement between all the great authors on investment. They'll give you only two avenues: the stock market and real estate. So anybody who's invested in stocks for the last 3 decades, anybody who's invested in real estate for the last 3 decades, you know what the results are. I don't have to repeat that. Eric Tyson goes one step further. He also agrees stock and real estate, yes, but a very important insight, you can also have your own small business. And I think we ended this series of talks with my talk on entrepreneurship, where I tried to should point out that this is a very good avenue of not just work, it's also a very good investment, and it's your capital that goes into it. Probably the profits should be higher than what you would get from a diversified portfolio of stocks. So these are the three things. I think this is where we stopped. Now, after this very long review, but I just wanted to put things in perspective, let's continue the last part of personal financial planning.